What's up, YouTube? Today's video is my top 10 albums of 2015. I'm going to start this off by saying this was the most difficult top 10 albums list I've ever had to make in my history of making top 10 albums list of the year. The reason for that is this year was incredibly disappointing for best albums. I don't really know what the deal was with new music being released this year. I don't know if I'm just getting old, what the deal is, but I really struggled to put together a top 10 list. And if you are looking at the albums in the lower reaches of this top 10, I don't even recommend some of these. But I'm going to go ahead and press on with this. I actually may make a follow-up video of top 10 older albums that I heard for the first time this year, and I could make a much more effective list of recommendations based on that criteria. But that said, I am a list maker. I've always liked making top 10 albums lists, so I'm going to go ahead and cover my top 10 choices of this year. Give a few comments on each, and please, if there's something I missed out on this year, please leave me a comment of other things I need to check out. You can get an idea of what type of music I like, pretty much based on the choices in this video. And if there's something I just missed out on entirely, I would be happy to check it out, because I would love to know that there was better music released this year. So that said, let's go ahead and get started. Number 10, first one of these I didn't even bother to buy on vinyl, and that is A Place to Bury Strangers, their new album Transfixation. This came out very early in the year, and the one thing I'll say about this one is it's better than probably the last 2 or 3 albums they released, but as far as their career goes, I still think their debut was the most interesting thing they released about a decade ago. That was my favorite period of them, and really anything they've done since then has paled in comparison. So if you like this band, this one's worth checking out. You know, again, especially if you were disappointed in their last couple albums, because this one is a little better, but overall I can't recommend it too highly. The other one that is only CD, that I didn't even bother to buy on vinyl, is the reunion album by Sleater-Kinney. This album I do see in all kinds of top 10 album lists for the year. I think most of the praise for this one is a little overstretched. My thoughts on this one are that it was a welcome reunion. I'm glad they got back together, but this one is not nearly as good as their last album they released before they broke up, The Woods, which I feel is their best album ever. Pretty much I would say this album is a good Sleater-Kinney album, and that's not really good enough to me, because most of their albums are pretty great. So it's good to see them back. Unfortunately I didn't get to catch them live this year, so I don't know how they stacked up when they started playing live again, but overall not a great album. So yeah, number 9, Sleater-Kinney, No Cities to Love. Number 8, the first of these I actually did buy on vinyl, is the second Joanna Gruesome album, Peanut Butter. This album had some unusual delays. There seems to be some strange things going on with the band at the time this album was about to come out, and actually they had a huge lineup change as soon as this was released. So if you go see them now live, it's not the same band members that recorded their first 2 albums. This one's good. It's not as good as their first album, their debut from a couple years ago that was really awesome, but it is good noise pop, and if you like that kind of stuff, definitely worth checking out. Overall, not a classic though by any means, and that's why it falls at number 8. Number 7 is an album I was very excited for, and overall it didn't live up to the hype. Well, really the hype wasn't there even when it was released. I think a lot of people were disappointed in this album, and this is the third album by Cronin. It's just called MC3. Overall it's not as good as his breakout second album, and really not as great as his debut. So, you know, it's got some good songs on it. I don't want to totally poo-poo it, but overall I think, you know, the big jump to a bigger label and the hype behind this originally just didn't really live up to it. So if you like Cronin, it's worth checking out, but overall it gets number 7 on my list. Number 6 is the newest album by the OCs, and this is Mutilator Defeated at Last. Really love the artwork of this album with the fake ringwear. Definitely looks like an aged album on your shelf from many, many years ago, and I would definitely give them credit for one of my favorite covers of the year. However, this album overall is more consistent than their last release, but with that said, there really aren't any standout songs on this. They all just kind of have a very similar flow to them. So as far as how this compares to their last album, that one had some really, really great standout songs, and the rest of it kind of sucked. And this one is just consistent throughout. So if kind of depends on what you're looking for, I guess. I will say this band is still great live. I got to see them this year supporting this album, and overall I think their live show holds up, but this album is not one of their best. So yeah, number 6, the OCs. Number 5 is one of 2 releases by this band this year, named Wand, out of California, and very good, heavy psych. This one is actually particularly heavy, almost to its detriment, that it almost starts to sound the same as you go through it. So it is very good. It has some good songs on it, but overall it is not their best album, I would say. But I do like it, and very cool artwork on this, as with all their releases. So it was a welcome addition, but not something that I feel stands up to the best of their catalog. And then, about 6 months later, they released another album. So this is 1,000 Days. I like this one a little better than the other one. Very, very unusual artwork yet again. This one is much softer than the other one, and I feel like it almost goes too soft. So if you're looking for something that is the happy medium between these albums, I would say get their debut album from last year. It actually was a very nice mix of their sound, from soft to heavy psych, but they decided to split those up, I guess, between these 2 albums this year. So I could probably make a really killer mix of the 2 albums if I tried, that would have cut out some of the filler and really have a nice consistent sound to it. So overall, they're definitely worth picking up, but not the best thing in Wand's catalog. So yeah, number 4 is 1,000 Days by Wand. Number 3, and one I actually am starting to get a little more interested in. I sound like I'm so down on all these albums, and I apologize for that. This one I did genuinely like. This is the Fuzz album 2, and since we didn't get a proper Ty Segall album this year, which is probably the first year he hasn't released a proper album in a decade. This was probably his most effort that he put into anything he released. There were a couple other 7 inches and side projects, but this one got the most of his attention. Ty definitely sings on a lot of these songs, not all of them, and he plays drums. But the rest of the band is very tight. They added the guitarist from Meat Bodies to play bass on this album, and I think that was a nice touch. You can tell the difference. This is a double album, and it is quite long. I believe it's about 70 minutes long. Very cool artwork. Nothing really on the back, but the front's very cool. Got to see this lineup live this year as well, and they were awesome as expected. Basically, if you like heavy 70s stoner rock, you're definitely going to like this album. And the only thing I would say that it wasn't as good as the first one is just maybe because it's a double album, it's a little overstretched. But however, that being said, there are a lot of songs on here I really enjoy listening to, and definitely played this album quite a bit this year. All right, so number 2 is a band that I didn't even know about before this year, and this was their reunion album. This is their first album in 17 years, and this is Swerve Driver. I Wasn't Born to Lose You. You can see kind of the vintage automotive artwork here. It's a cool cover, I think, for sure. And really their songs are known for being good for long car cruises through the desert and things like that. They just have a nice open feel to them. I really like this album. It's kind of shoegaze pop type stuff. This one's not quite as heavy as some of their earlier albums that I got into, but I think it still suits the band well, and they definitely have a lot of energy left. So this is a very welcome reunion album, and I think if you haven't ever checked out Swerve Driver before, it's a good place to start. Definitely not really a highlight or 2 to point out because the whole album is consistently good, and definitely recommend you check this out. I didn't see this on a lot of top 10 lists at the end of the year, but I think it was well received when it came out, and somehow it got a little forgotten. So Swerve Driver gets number 2 on my list. Which leaves us with the number 1 album of the year, and I think this album definitely fell through the cracks. This is Built to Spill's, I don't know, 9th, 10th album, whatever. They've released a lot of albums over the years, but they've also been active for a very long time. This is their first album in 6 years, so it has been a while since their last one. And this one is incredibly consistent. It has some nice new touches that bring a couple new things to their sound, but that being said, it still sounds like classic Built to Spill all at once. I really think this album got slept on overall. I think it got some very nice reviews when it came out, and then everyone forgot about it entirely. I didn't see this on a single end-of-year list that I've been looking at, and I was very surprised by that. I listened to this album a lot this year, and I thought it really grew on me, has some great songs, and definitely is well worth checking out. Again, I think even if you haven't been a big Built to Spill fan in the past, this is an album you could start off with and definitely get into them. It has that nice warm sound to it. So overall, I mean, I am very jazzed about this album. I just wish the rest of the year could live up to it. And if you have some other stuff, again, that you recommend I check out from 2015, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know what I missed out on. Please also take a moment, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this video. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.